As a kid, did you ever try mashing like 50 different kinds of candy and chocolate into a single dessert thinking that it would be the best thing ever? Well, that's essentially what the movie we're talking about today is like, except with anime tropes instead of candy. Like, I speak from experience when I say that having a spoonful of like rockets and Tootsie Rolls covered in chocolate and caramel may sound appetizing until you've actually tried it. And oh yeah, before we get too ahead of ourselves with this film, there is no Psychic School Wars in this movie called Psychic School Wars. There was almost one battle. I was super stoked for it. Main character versus the antagonist. A psychic battle for the ages. But then...
Hey guys, you wanna go have a beach episode at the climax of our movie?
Ladies, gentlemen, and others, my name is Okada, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Today, possibly one of the worst animated films in existence, Psychic School Wars. Let's jam. Oh god, here it comes. So, if I were to give you the most appropriate description of this film story in terms of a sequence of events as well as what the narrative goals are, I would say stuff happens on the screen. Holy cow, this film loves making things happen on the screen. Welcome to Kenji's World, everybody, because here, everything is animated. Everything must be animated or moving or catching your eye as much as physically possible. Heck, even beyond that, if it's possible. Can we just have these two girls calmly walking while chatting about their lives? No! One of them needs to be doing cartwheels and backflips and shit, because why the hell not? Like, there's nothing inherently bad with treating an audience to a spectacle, but there's not much point when it drowns out the story they came to see. Or at least, that's what I would say if I could even figure out what the story of this film even is. So, at Kenji's school, there is a ban on cell phones, and apparently this is a massive deal due to some unexplained incident, and that they distract hormonal teenagers who need to study. Fair enough. But then there's this silver-haired Bishi who transfers in and causes some of the girls to go all woozy-floozy, eventually resulting in a weird love triangle square thing between him, Kenji's childhood friend, and the other main girl played by Kana Hanazawa. You get all that? Don't worry, all you need to know is that cell phones are evil because they stop you from speaking to other people face to face. Through all of these overdone visuals, finicky movements, and bland as fuck characters, the movie really pushes cell phones as a legitimate villain. It introduces psychic mind-reading powers as this commentary about how technology is separating us even when we think it's bringing us together. It's simple and overdone beyond belief, but it makes sense. A South Park episode can pull something like that off. But the problem here is that Psychic School Wars doesn't really demonstrate to us the consequences of relying on cell phones for communication. Rather, it has characters recite social commentary from time to time, and over the course of the film, you kind of get the feeling that phones are just being used as a scapegoat. It's just an excuse to pretend that this story is about love and understanding, which demands something visually cathartic, rather than actually delving into some realistic consequences about technology obscuring humanity. The film just wants to act like it's deep so that it can jump into the juicy stuff, the hyperactive visuals, and the drama of horny psychic teenagers figuring out who their kokoro goes doki doki for. Because anime. Get down, you little This is why this film is just this incessant stream of stuff happening. The connection between this overdone animation and this whole understanding moral is so freaking weak. I'd say it's distracting, but it's more like two distractions that are trying to compete with how much that they can distract you from, well, there's nothing really of value worth focusing on in the first place. The characters themselves are an insult to watching paint dry. Even the mysterious transfer student who makes all the females' panties drop and is like,
Ah, yes, look at me and how dark and mysterious I am. I can play Claire de Lune on the piano because I'm so sophisticated and cool.
the use of Claire de Lune has become so cliche in recent years, it actually makes me think less of a project as a whole just for considering its use. Like, there are thousands of piano pieces that exist in the world that you could have used, but no, you went with that one all the time? Okay, fine. So after asserting himself into the high school community, our transfer student, Ryoichi, begins starting his evil plot to turn a bunch of 8th graders into psychics, so we won't need cell phones to communicate anymore. Did I mention cell phones are bad? Because they're really bad. Why are they bad? Who gives a shit anyways? Oh, but for those who can't become psychics, well, you can just calmly disappear, okay? But not our protagonist, though. No, he's apparently already a psychic, but he doesn't know it yet. And we need to leave him alone because of some future thing that he's supposed to do. And did I mention that this only comes up because our mysterious transfer student is also a time traveler from the future? Seriously? Look, guys, if you're trying to recreate the Haruhi Suzumiya pie, you need to do better than only half the ingredients. Having the time traveler and the Esper is fine, but you're missing the alien supercomputer and the snarky, sarcastic asshole. Without those things, you're just a cheap knockoff pie. I've made a lot of dessert metaphors today, haven't I? None of the characters, sans Ryoichi, have any semblance of motivation. Not that his makes much sense, and rarely does anyone show any kind of personality beyond some basic character traits and the fact that their faces move real good. Actually, no, I lied. The film does know what it wants to be. It wants to be pretty. And it does that, at least. But it's gotten to the realm where I feel like it went way overboard. The visuals of the film as a whole are like if somebody watched a Makoto Shinkai film and then figured that it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, so why don't we just do that? But I think they forgot the most important aspect of Shinkai's filmmaking. It's the sensitivity behind it all, not the intensity of detail. They may be slow and boring, but because of that, they play out more like poetry, creating an ethereal atmosphere as it washes over you. This is not that. To take one of the many, many examples, motion blur. Now, motion blur is an effect that you can apply to a video asset to give it an additional sense of swiftness and speed in movement. Heck, I use motion blur sometimes when I want to transition from live action to anime footage. However, what Psychic School Wars does is it takes motion blur and specifically applies it to everything. Why? Why is there motion blur here? He's just leaning back. Why does this need any feeling of speed whatsoever? The film suffers, overall, from something I'd like to call superfluous animation overload. It's when an anime tries to make up for its poor plot, pacing, or characters by just making sure that they at least look cool while doing whatever it is they're supposed to do. Really, I just don't know what the film wants to be. Its title makes it sound like it's an action series, which it isn't. Its characters keep acting like it's supposed to be a slice of life romance, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And our antagonist makes it seem like it might want to be a drama after all this, but there's no real drama here, and everything just gets wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end because psychic powers. If this film was actually poorly animated, I wouldn't be giving it anywhere near as much scrutiny, because at least it wouldn't be trying to pass itself off as something it couldn't hope to be. The notion that people, even the closest of friends or lovers, can never truly understand one another is a theme that is definitely worth exploring. It's something that all of us have to deal with in our everyday lives, but this whole cell phones are evil crap doesn't even come close to that. And the idea that a film can get away with it through overstimulating visuals is, quite frankly, insulting. I know perfectly well that a lot of people will look at this film and say that it is average. Like, not horrible, and most certainly not bad enough to talk about it as I am in the context of some of the worst anime ever. And perhaps I am being too harsh on it, but I'd like to think that I'm not. It's the shows that are poorly written but try to cover it up that, to me, are so much worse than the ones who don't. Am I going too far by giving this film a fuck it rating? Maybe. Maybe. Because again, it is very pretty. If you want to watch it, that's entirely up to you, and I can at least understand your reasons for doing so. Like, a dumpster fire is pretty to look at, even if it stinks. You can pick up a copy of Psychic School Wars from Funimation if you really do want to give it a shot, but in the meantime, I'm going to give you some alternate anime recommendations for anime that are actually good. First up, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, a film from Mamoru Hosoda that involves time travel, young love, and dramatic set pieces in a way that actually tie together and have a legitimate, bittersweet feeling to it. Second recommendation is Gatchaman Crowds, a show about a band of young heroes and a story that explores the social implications of technology in a much more interesting way. Hopefully between the two of those, you should find something to your liking. And that's it for me. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video, follow me on Twitter if you feel so inclined, and hey, if you like what I do here and feel like helping out, please go and check out my Patreon page, and if you feel it within your heart, also consider donating. As always, a major thank you to all of my patrons who do support these videos, as without you, they would not be possible. Specifically, though, I would like to thank Yunru, Dover Queen, Jacob Parkin, Joshua Garcia, Calhoun Boy, Robert Chumzai, Siri Yamako, Bing Theo, and Victor Ekmark for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, stay frosty.